Uh, Let me start with giving you a basic idea about what really SQL is. And before even going to that, let me talk a little bit about what exactly is a database and what is exactly a database management system, right? Um, so basically, today we live in an age of data, and all of us we are spending so much time about learning how to process it, how to interpret it, and we are learning about building models on the data itself. But before doing all that, before we even go into that, we need to know how to store this huge amount of data that we have, and how can we actually retrieve the useful information as and when we need it, right? And such type of data is stored in a database, which is basically nothing but a collection of intercollected data, which is stored in the form of, say, tables and building schemas. So yeah, you can perform various kinds of operations on data using SQL, like creating a table, inserting in that table, getting data from that table, updating some kind of information in the table, and all of that. Okay, but before we even start that, we need to know that there is a system that is kept in place that will help us manage and interact this huge amount of data in a very systematic way, so that we aren't lost, so that we don't store the same kind of information again and again, so that we don't know, like while we retrieve the data, we don't waste our effort, as well as our computational resources, to get what we really need, right? So a software that is used to manage these databases is basically what we call as a database management system. Okay, just to simply put it like that. uh, so basically, imagine that it is some kind of a advanced file system, which will allow multiple users to access the same data parallelly, right? And it'll help you keep the data protected, as in no unauthorized changes can be made to the data, right? And it will also help you to remove any kind of data redundancy. Like I told you, like if we have the same kind of information again and again, it'll probably end up consuming a lot of computational resources, right? Hence, a database management system is very important. Now, once we have this database management system in place, it's important for us to understand how exactly we'll get data from this database management system, right? So there are various forms of database management systems, Oracle, MySQL. So MySQL being the most popular one these days. And these will basically allow us to do all the operations that I'll be talking about today in the lecture. Okay. Now, just a brief introduction on what SQL is. So SQL basically stands for Structured Querying Language. And as I already mentioned, it will help us perform operations on the data that is being stored in your database management system. Okay. Now, the SQL language mainly consists of two parts. Uh, First one being the data definition language, that part of SQL, wherein it'll allow you to create some form of data in your DBMS. It'll consist of commands like create, alter, drop, comment, rename. So any kind of changes basically that you want to do in the structure itself. The other part of SQL is the data modification language. That part will help you retrieve the data predominantly, right? It'll consist of commands like select, insert, update, right? So all of that. So mostly when you're working in a company, you probably wouldn't have to deal with the definition part of the language, because mostly organizations have a very well built database system. You mostly need to procure the data in all kinds of roles, like even as a data scientist, as a business analyst. So in all these roles, you'll mostly deal with the other part of the language. Still, just for the sake of completeness, I'll just cover a couple of commands that we use in DDL. that is creation and insertion. So I'll start from there. So let me just give you a brief introduction of the platform that I'm using. Usually, when you're working in a company, you probably will have your own data platform in place, just like Flipkart has, and all the companies have their own form of data and their own form of software that they have in place to deal with the situation. But just to give you a basic idea and just to help you practice, I'll suggest that you can go to the sqlfield.com website. You can create whatever you want, and you can experiment with any of the commands, with like, if you have any kind of confusion about what they do, right? So let me start with a very basic command, that is create. Okay. Now I'll create a very basic table which stores information about the orders that a e-commerce website is getting, right? So I'll just, okay. Now this is a very basic syntax for creating a table. Now what my table will consist of, all that I'll mention in the brackets, and orders is basically the name of my table, right? Now, when you insert the different columns, which is also known as fields in case of SQL, you need to mention two things. First is the name of the column, and second is the data type that you are storing in that column, right? So the very basic thing that a e-commerce company might be dealing with is the product ID. So what is the ID of the product that the customer actually bought, right? So I'll just name it as product ID, and this will be my data type, say. Okay, so this data type will basically help me store something of a string format. Basically, it will store various characters in it, right? And 15 is just the size that I'm giving it. Then we might also need something like, say, order date, right? And this will be, say, a date. So this is another data type that I'm talking about. So I'm just trying to cover the various mostly used data types. There are many data types that SQL has, and you can actually check them online as and when you need it. I mean, I think that's the most efficient way of doing it. So yeah, integer is one of the data type that is mostly used. And let me just also put in the MRP of the product that the customer is buying, right? So now the 10 into this is very intuitive. Since I've declared it as float, I'll need to mention how many, what is the capacity before and after the decimal point that SQL should support, right, for that column. Yeah, so done, I think. Now the entire process that I did, now this is known as building schema. By building schema, I mean you're just creating some kind of space using SQL, and you're saying that this is my table. It'll have these columns by these names, and it'll store these particular types of data types. So all of this is basically my schema. So don't be very lost in the big names that are being used. It's really simple. um yeah, okay. I'll just also insert some values in the table. Let me just do it. Okay, let's just not waste time. And so this is basically, I've just I already wrote it down to save time. So in order to insert values, basically it's just you'll use insert into. You'll obviously mention the name of the table that you're inserting into, and then values. So while you're inserting values, it's just uh, just it's some kind of a tuple that you are passing, and each row of the value will have corresponding values for the column names that you have mentioned in the create table. Like in this case, this will be my product ID, this will be my date, this will be the number of units, and this will be the MRP of that product, right? So this is the schema is built, right? Now, I want to check whether this table has been built in my system or not. So I'll get into the details of these statements later, but let me just check whether I've created a table successfully, right? So yes, now as you can see that in the background, we have created a table with all the mentioned columns that we specified, okay? Now, this was just a brief detailed part of SQL, and it's not very much used, so I'll not get into it as a part of this lecture. I'll mostly focus on the other part of SQL, that is the language modifying part of it. So let's focus on this window. As here I've mentioned, select and from. So these are the very basic commands that are used in SQL. Select is basically, so the SQL is very intuitive, right? It's just like English. So when I say select, obviously I mean that I'm selecting what all columns I want to select from the database. My database will have hundreds of columns. I'll need to mention what all columns I want, right? And if you don't know, or if you don't if you want to extract the entire data, the entire table in itself, then you can just use this, and this basically stands for all, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm selecting all the columns from, and obviously I'll have to mention from which table I want to get those columns, right? So this is a simple command, select and from. Now in this, what if I want to extract only limited number of columns, right? So I just want the product ID, right? And I just want the units. So I'll just mention what all columns I want, and then I'll run the query. And you can see that I have product ID and I have units, right? So yeah. In order to make you understand all the operations of SQL, a small data set might not be enough. So let me just um, build a bigger data set. Yeah, I'm just doing this to save time. You can easily do it like according to you. You can create whatever table you want. And if you're working in org, you'll already have this. You don't need to do this, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, here I've created three tables. One is for logistics, one is for orders, and one is for seller. Let me just check what is inside my orders table. Okay? So yes, I have all sort of information in my orders table. I'll have the order ID. I'll have what is the status of the order. Is it cancelled or is it delivered? Okay, then that particular order is fulfilled by some kind of seller, right? So I'll have a ID of the seller. I'll have an account ID of the customer, right? So all of this stuff is present, and we'll have like lots of data. Then I also have a table, say logistics, right? Now this has information about various pin codes, right? What is the city to which that pin code belongs? What's the state? What is the zone? What is the city type? So stuff like this. Now, the very basic question that we might have is why not store all of this information in the same table, and why do we even need separate tables? It'll be so much easier if we have just one big table and we can get whatever we want from that table, right? But let me just put it this way, that the orders table that I've shown you, right? This will be something that is maybe built in, that gets updated every day or every hour or every minute. Okay? Because the moment you get new orders, you're going to add rows to it. But certain kind of information actually stays stationary, right? Like for example, the logistics table that I showed you. The pin code, a particular pin code will always belong to a particular city and a particular state, right? So if we had all of this information in one table itself, what we will be doing is, say for all the orders that are coming from one pin code, the columns like city, country, state, these columns will be repeated. So as I was talking about earlier, right, this will be, this kind of data will be redundant and it will consume a lot of our space, and at the same time it will increase the size of a table and hence make our query less efficient. Let me tell you, already while working in a org, the thing is, it's very difficult to get data fast. It sometimes takes you a day, 2 days, and people are all like, they are just cribbing about, we don't have data, so we can't build models and things like that. So it's very important to make your system efficient, and it's also important to query it efficiently, right? Okay. Now let's proceed with other commands that we can use in SQL. Just a couple of variations in select statement itself. So basically, what if I'm not at all concerned about the various data that is stored in the table, and I only want to know what are the distinct product IDs that I as a company have, right? So what I'll do is I'll just query the distinct list of product ID from this table, right? So here I have the list of product ID, and I don't need to query the entire data to get the kind of information that I wanted, right? So yes, you can use this distinct statement. Um, Now let's move to the next important command that we have in SQL, that is where. Now let me tell you, obviously you won't need the entire data set every time. Most of the times you have a certain kind of picture in your mind and you just want the relevant information, and yes, you can have it. You don't need to just go into the data and take everything that is available, because even though right now it's not taking that much time, in real life it will. So yeah. Okay. Now, what if I want all the information that has to do with the cancelled orders only, right? So this is what I want. Um, what I'll do is I'll select everything from orders, but I'll use a condition here where, right? Now, now you don't know which column exactly you want to use. Like, I know as of now that okay, status is something that I can use, but if you want to check what column name will give you the relevant information, usually the table has a schema that you can check. Here we'll just see the table, right? So we can see that status is the column that has the information that I need. So I'll just write where status is equal to, say, cancelled, right? So now you can see that my table has all the rows corresponding to the cancelled orders, right? And yes, cancelled is a string, so I'll have to give the inverted commas here, right? If I just wanted something like, say, I just had to deal with integer or float, I'll just give it like this, right? Yeah. So now let me just give you one tricky example. Okay, here you can see a lot of product IDs, and it's a very big number. You know, it has a lot of alphabets in it, and you don't really know which product ID corresponds to what, right? But I have some kind of understanding that usually the first two or three alphabets of that product ID might correspond to the kind of product that the customer is buying, right? So in that case, we have a very useful condition in SQL, which is actually used a lot. That is like, okay. So if I want to see all the orders corresponding to say mobile, right? And I don't know what all product IDs are in mobile, and even if I do, there are a lot of product IDs that come inside mobile as a business unit. So what I'll do is I'll just write product ID, and I just write like, you know. So SQL is very intuitive. Whatever you say in English, it's almost there as a command. So I just write it as like, say, mob, and something like this. I'm not sure whether it'll work or not, but there are high chances that it would, depending on my understanding. Okay. So let's see if this works. Right. So in this, yeah, fortunately we have one product ID as MOB, and so like command has helped us get that product ID, right? So this command can also be very useful. Okay. Now, what if I have more than one conditions that I want to use, right? What if I tell you that I want um, all the sales that are happening through the Android app, and I want it for just say 27th of June, right? So I'll just check what all dates we have in the data frame. So these are my dates again. I'll just want the distinct dates. So yeah, these are the dates I have. You can see that I have this data of 1 week of June, June 2019. And I just want the data for 27th of June. And I want the data that, you know, so some orders are coming through app, some are coming through website, right? So I just want all the orders that are coming through app, and I just want it for 27th of June. So how do you think I'll be able to do this? Yes, so we can use some kind of condition like and or. So as in this case, I said that I wanted as an intersection of both, whether it's come that it should come from app, and at the same time it should be on 27th of June. So I'll use a and condition. Yeah. So what I'll do is where yeah, this and right. So yeah, you can check this, right? We have all the orders that are from Android app and which were placed on 27th of June, right? So this is how you can use multiple conditions. So there are other operations as well that you can use in where condition, like not equal to, greater than, less than, between, in, not. So all of these are present. You can explore them, or we'll cover all of them in our detailed course. Right now, let's just move to other commands, other common commands that are used in SQL. For example, sorting, right? So I want to sort my data in a particular fashion. Right. So what I'll do is I'll sort the data of a particular pin code according to the order date time, right? So let me just say that I'm looking at one particular pin code. Right. For sorting, we use a command named order by, and we have to order it by, say, order date time, right? So let's see what we get. So yeah, as you can see that we have the information corresponding to the pin code that we want, and all of it is sorted according to the time at which the order was placed, the date and the time both, right? So 9:39, 9:41, then we'll have 12:50, then we have for say 29 June, right? So this is how we do it. So yeah. So basically, I can ask you questions like, say for example, I want to look at all the cancelled orders and I want to see from which order channel that they are coming, and I want to see which of those orders is the latest order, right? So I'm concerned of this information. So yeah, I mean, can you just tell me what all filters you'll use in where, and what will be the column name that you'll use in order by? Okay, so let me repeat my question. I'll just write it down here. And then, so I'm saying I need information about all units that were cancelled, right, through app and I want to look at it according to recency. So this is my question. So what will be the filters that you're using in the where condition, and what will be the column name that you use in order by? Okay, so let me just do it. So what I'll do is I'm selecting all the columns from the orders table, right? My conditions are where. So status is cancelled. And no, order by clause will just provide the data, the information based on which column you want to sort your data. What column should be included in your selection is basically given by select. So I'm selecting all the columns which have a status of cancelled and which are ordered through app, and I'm saying that I have to order that, you have to sort that based on right. So this is what I'm doing, right? Okay, so let's just move to the next command, that is group by. That's the last command that we have for basic SQL, and then we can move to joins, right? Yeah. So group by is basically something that facilitates any kind of aggregation that you want to do. Like I want to know what are the number of units that I sold, say through each of the pin code, right? So what I'll do is I'll select pin code, and I want the sum of all the units that are sold through each of the pin code, right? So I'll use the aggregation function, and I'll group it on pin code, right? So this will basically give me units for each of the pin codes. So similarly, I can also count the number of orders that were placed to each of the pin code. So this will give me just the order count, right? Now, when I look at the table, I see something like count of units. I don't want something, it doesn't make any sense, count of units. So I'll just provide some kind of name for this column. Like I'll just call it units, for example. So this is also something that I can do. These are called aliases. These are also very useful when I'll be talking about joins. Okay. So yeah, this is it in terms of group by. Okay. Now, when we were talking about a different kind of data that we are extracting, all of the data we were using was from a single table, right? We might also need data from multiple tables. Also, sometimes we might also need only limited number of rows for that table, right? Say, for example, I'm selecting everything from the orders table, right? But I just want to have a look at uh, top 3 rows, right? So I can also do that using limit function, right? So this is how I can get this done. But you know what? It's like, don't be confused by the idea of using the limit function. I mean, what people usually do is when they are extracting information, say there are two kinds of table, and one table is a small table, okay? So it will store just 1 month of data in it, and some other table probably stores a year of data in it, right? And you are saying that anyway you are just limiting the query to 3. That is, you just want the top 4 or 5 rows that are populating in that data frame. So it wouldn't make any difference from what table you are actually taking the data if the recent rows that are being added to the both of the tables are same. So people usually make that mistake, but I tell you that is not how it works. So SQL has a background execution method for each of the commands that it is using. The first command that it will actually use is from. So if your data table that you are giving itself over here, if that table is very, very big And even if you're limiting the rows to 3, your query might take a lot of time. It'll keep working for 2 or 3 days, and you'll be like, you wasted 3 days in just pulling data for 3 rows, right? So for this purpose, usually most of the companies have two types of data sources, as in they'll have a table for orders in which they store orders for an entire year, but at the same time they also have a table wherein they store the orders for just 1 month, right? So in that way, if you have to deal with information that is very recent, you just want to look at the data that happened in, say, in last 1 or 2 weeks, you should probably use a table that is smaller in size, right? So the execution order for SQL is something like that. It'll first execute from, then it'll execute the where statement, then it'll execute the group by statement, uh, and at the end it will actually execute the limit statement. So even if your limit number is very small, your query still might take a lot of time, right? Yes. So now let's just move to what I was talking about earlier. So what if I need some kind of aggregation of information, and that information is not present in a single table, right? Say for example, so this is my logistics table, and it has information about each of the pin code, but this table does not have units in it, right? And what I want to look at is I want the units sold at each city, right? So this is my problem statement. Now, how will I do it? Anyone, any ideas? So yeah, let me just explain this using joins. So what I'll do is, in a way, I'm just combining the sales data that I have and the pin code information that I've stored. Okay. Now, how exactly I'll combine it, right? The first thing that I'll have to identify is on which element will I join this table to that table, right? And in this process, the most important step is to identify these keys, right? So in this case, we can see that even though I did not have the city information in my orders table, and I don't have units information in my logistics table, but there is one column that is common in both the tables. Any guesses? So yeah, it's pin code. What I'll do is, so I'm just joining orders table with the logistics table, and I'm joining it on pin code, right? And I'll just select the necessary columns that I want to select. That is, I probably don't even want pin code. I'll just select city, and I'll select the sum of units. This is the pin code. Okay, so this is the kind of information that I was looking for. Now, what if I just want right? I'll just group it by. So yeah, this is how I'll get information for each of my city. This is the total number of units that that are being sold from that particular city, right?
Hey Pruta, just one request from Ankit. He wants to you to explain the above command thread once again.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So what I was saying is, okay. First of all, focus on what all tables we are joining, right? So from orders, this is just ORDS is just some kind of name that I've given to the table. We can also skip this if this makes things complicated. Right. Let me just skip this. It'll just make things complicated. Okay, so what I'm doing is I am focusing on the table orders and I'm joining it on the table logistics, which has the information of city, which was not currently present in orders. And as I mentioned before, we identified that the only column between these two tables was pin code, right? So what I'm doing is I'm joining the orders pin code column with the logistics pin code column. And after that, I'm just grouping it say by city. So even if you like ignore the group by and the select statement, what necessarily I did was for that particular pin code, I just bought all the information regarding that pin code and joined it to my primary table, that is the orders table that I'm talking about, right? Was I clear enough?
Pruta, just one more request from Gursimran. Can you just explain in brief what exactly is join statement?
Yeah, sure. So let me reframe my statement. When we were looking at the orders table, we had certain kind of information, but I was asked to report the total number of units for each city, right? And in my orders table, I did not have the city information. So what I did was, this statement is about, I just brought the orders table in picture, like from orders, and this syntax will just enable me to join it with logistics. Let's not go into what type of join we are doing. We'll just simply join it, right? And this will work. So what I did was, from orders, I gave a statement of join it with logistics, which is my another table. Now, once I tell my database that, okay, I have to join these tables, but it'll need a little more information, as in on what column I should join those two tables, right? So then I mentioned in the statement that, okay, join my orders pin code column with my logistics pin code column, right? Now I'll have a table where I'll have both the columns that were present in logistics table as well as the columns that were present in the orders table. I'll have all those columns. Now I can simply tell it that, okay, now just give me the grouped units at a city level, right? So this is what I'm doing. Yeah, I hope I was clear. Now let me move to different types of joins that we'll do. Initially, I did not go into it because probably I thought I'll confuse you. There are different types of joins like left join, right join, full outer join, inner join. Now it's of utmost importance to understand which join you'll use when. But before that, let me tell you what all things does each of the join does, right? So there are two types of tables, and in both the tables, in this case, say we have the orders table and we have the logistics table. Now in both these tables, we have the column, say pin code, right? Now it is very possible that there are certain pin codes that are present in the orders table but might not be present in the logistics table. Or it is also possible that some pin codes are there in logistics table, but we never received orders from those pin codes. Mostly it's the latter case, right? So in that case, you need to decide what is your problem statement. So when someone asks me that I want all the units that are sold at each city, now mostly it's very intuitive that my logistics table will probably have all the data. It will have all the pin codes, and all of these pin codes will be mapped to the particular city, state, and nation that they belong to, right? So that data set will in itself be complete. But the orders table that I'm dealing with, that might not have all the pin codes, right? But when I say that I want all the sales aggregated at a particular city level, what I necessarily want is all the rows that I had in the orders table that should be covered, right? So what my left join necessarily does is, it will take all the rows that were present in the orders table and it will join the orders table with the logistics table in a way that all the pin codes in order table are taken, but not all the pin codes in the logistic table are taken, right? Vice versa, what my right join will do is, it'll take all the pin codes that are present in my logistics table, but not in my orders table. And usually what my join statement does is, join statement is in a way a full join statement. That is, it will take all the pin codes that were present in either the orders table or the logistics table. There is also another join that is mostly used, is the inner join. Now inner join is something that it will pick up only those pin codes that were present in both the tables. So in this case, that I think that will be the most useful join. Basically, it will cover all the pin codes for which we actually had an order, first thing, and at the same time, we have information corresponding to that pin code, right? So this is what the inner join will do for us. Any questions on joins? Okay. Let's just solve one more question.
Guys, if you do not understand anything about joins, then you can ask Putha now.
Okay, so there's just one more thing that I want to mention is, mostly in practical uses, identification of what column you should actually join the two tables is very important. As in, make sure that so if you're joining the orders table with the logistics table in this case, make sure that in the logistics table each of the rows is uniquely defined by the column on which you are joining. For example, if I'm joining the logistics table and I'm joining it on pin code, I should make sure that there is only one unique entry for each pin code in my logistics table, right? And that is how it should happen. Like, for example, each pin code should belong to only one city, to only one state. There shouldn't be multiple entries present in that table, because if there are multiple entries present in my logistics table, what will happen is my data will in a way become corrupt, right? My same pin code will be mapped to say multiple cities, and probably I am counting the same number of units that was sold on that pin code in both the cities, right? So that might happen. It's of utmost importance that you decide on which column you want to join the two tables, right? I understand if you're confused on the concept of so it kind of takes some time to grasp these things and which join to use. Uh, but as of now, what I expect from you is, are you even clear on the idea of what join does for you and how you can use it to get information which was not present in your primary table but was present in some other table, probably. So that is what you should get an idea on, using which kind of join and what kind of mistakes you usually make in each of the join type, that we can discuss in later in the following sessions. Okay, so I'll just okay.
Yeah, maybe Pruta, if possible, like we can open up some table or something in Wikipedia or some anything which might be something graphical which might help Ashish to understand.
Sure.
If that sounds good to you.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically, let me just explain it using the Venn diagrams here, right? So consider that these two circles are the two tables, right? And say, for example, this was my orders table, this is my logistics table, and I'm joining it at a pin code key, right? So what my inner join will do is, say there are certain pin codes that were present in A and not present in B, and vice versa. There were certain pin codes present in B and not in A. So what my inner join will do is, it will take all the pin codes that were present in both A and B. It is some kind of a AND condition that I'm using. That should be present in both the tables, right? If it is present in A and not in B, I'll not take that row into consideration, and hence I'll not add the units that were corresponding to that units into my particular city, right? This is what my inner join does. Now, on the similar lines, this is what my left join does. So when I say left, so okay, let me clarify one more thing. So it's like basically left is the table that you write on the left side of equal to, and right is the table that you write on the right side of the equal to table. So when I say left join on this, I'm saying that I am taking into account all the pin codes that are coming in the orders table, but probably they are not present in the logistics pin code. So that is totally fine by me. So I just want all the pin codes that will come in the orders table, right? So this is how it is represented in a Venn diagram, taking all the pin codes of orders and not bothering whether they were present in say the table B or the logistics table in our case, right? Now we can also do it vice versa. You can also say that I want to take all the pin codes that were present in the logistics table, and I don't care if those pin codes were actually present in the orders table, right? Like in this case, it probably wouldn't make any sense, but in some cases it might. So in this case, I think, it makes no sense that, okay, I'll take all the pin codes that are present in my logistics table, because logistics table is obviously most probably going to have all the pin codes mapped to the respective information like state and city. But it does not make any sense to take all those pin codes if there is no number of units sale corresponding to that particular pin code, right? Which the unit information that we are getting is basically from table A. So our prime focus in this particular example should be table A, right? Now, at the same time, the last thing, which is a very intuitive thing, is a full join. So basically, in this case, what I'm saying is my data set will have all the information regarding the pin codes that were present in both table A and table B, right? So even if it is present in table A and not in table B, I still want it. So in that case, what will happen is I'll get my pin code as a row in my particular, after my join, I'll get it as a row, but I might not get any city that is mapped to that pin code. Since that pin code was not present in table B, I will not have information about which city it belongs to, which state it is from. So when I'm talking about a problem like I want all the sales at a city level. So even if there was some kind of sale that was happening at that particular pin code, but since that pin code is not mapped to any of the city in my database, I will not be able to report to which city the sale adds to, right? So it will make no sense for me to make a full join in this case, right? So I just hope that this made it somewhat clear. Yeah, maybe we can also do another example, which will again deal with joins. So let me say that I want day-wise units. Okay, let me just show you the seller table. So what I'm saying is I want number of orders that were placed in each of the state, right, by different seller service tier. Okay, this is something that I want, right? Now what does it mean? Let me show you. Okay, let's not bring in multiple joins into picture as of now. So this is what I want, number of orders that were placed in each of the state, right? So the first thing is my primary table. So what my primary table is basically, since I'm focused on the number of orders that were placed, and each of the order that is being placed is recorded in my primary table, that is orders. So I'll select it as a primary table from orders, right? Now what I'll do is I'll join it with the table logistics. So basically my table logistics has information about state, right? So I'll join it with logistics. Now again, on what column will I join it, that will have to specify. So again, it will be pin code. Right? Now I can select what all columns I really want to display, right? So I'll select, obviously I'll select the state column. And I want the number of orders, so I'll use a aggregation function count over here. and I'll count the order IDs, right? So I selected the state, I aggregated the order IDs on that particular state. And since I've aggregated it, I'll also have to use a group by function. Let's see how this one works. Yes, so now I have a database that will, I have a table basically which will give me information about how many orders were placed from each of the states in my orders table, right? Okay. Are there any doubts in this? So what if I have to report the total MRP? So what if I change my question like give me the total MRP at each of the zones. So this is what I want to report. Okay, so the difference between sum and count is so basically it's very intuitive aggregation function. Okay, so when I say sum, so when I say that say in a state like Bihar, I had 3 or 4 rows, right? And I have you know in that particular state I have 3 or 4 orders that were being placed. Now it is possible that in one particular order I sold 2 or 3 units. It's not always necessary that number of units will be one, right? When you place an order on a website, maybe there are 2 units in it. Now, if I do a count aggregation at say state level, yeah, if I do here count of units, so that will probably give me the total number of rows that are falling under the section Bihar, yeah, under the state Bihar. But what if I don't want the total number of rows, that is the total number of orders that were placed through Bihar? What I want is I want the total units that were placed, right? And in that case, I'll use a sum operator. Like in this case, let me just simply show you the difference here. Okay? For example, I do sum of MRP over here. Now this is the total MRP that I'm getting at a state level, right? And let's see what count of MRP gives me. So now you can see that the count function will basically give me the total number of the count of rows that actually fall under state. So basically there was say one order that was placed, I'll count it as one. But when I do a sum function, what I'm doing is I'm essentially aggregating or summing the value of the column for each of the entry. Right? I hope I was clear. Yeah, so just help me solve this problem. It's a very easy one. So what I want is I want the total number of sales, that is the total number of units, as well as the total MRP at each of the zone on each of the days. So I want something like say in North Zone on 26 June, I sold these many units at this particular MRP. On 26 June, 27 June, 28 June, something like that. So I want a date feature in it, I want a zone feature in it, and I want your MRP and units aggregated over both these features, like date as well as zone. So can you tell me what all tables I'll have to join, what will be my primary table, and what all things I'll select? Okay, so let's start from what will be my primary table. Let me just write the question for clarification. I want units sold and total MRP. Okay, units sold and say average MRP at each of the zones on each of the days. So this is my question. Now, what will be my primary table in this case? Yes, the primary table will be orders, definitely, because we are focused on the MRP information and the units information. So yes. What will I join it on? Okay. I joined it on logistics. How will I join it? Right? I've joined it this way.
Hey Swikriti, can you just mention like what element do you want the tables to be joined on?
So yeah, I joined both of these tables on the column pin code. Now let me decide what all final columns I'll be selecting. Yes, units and zones. So let me select. So it's basically a healthy practice to actually name the tables that you're joining and both your primary table and the joining tables that you're doing. In that way, you'll never be confused if there is any kind of repetition of column names in either of the tables. You select the right one. So it's just a good practice. When you write really big queries, it's very useful. So what I'll do here is I'm just naming. It's nothing complicated. I'm just naming is as logistics table as LG and my orders table as ORD, right? So I've just done that. And while selecting, then I can say that from order table, I have to select MRP, right? And this I want average of. So I'll just do this. And I also want units. That is also from my orders table. So I'll just do units, right? And at the same time, I want it at zone level, right? So I'll say that from LG table, I want zone as my column, right? And don't forget to use the group by function whenever you are doing some kind of aggregation over your measurable columns. So I'll just do a group by, and my grouping has to be done on the basis of zone, right? So does this look right? Let's see. Okay, now once you have named it, you need to change it everywhere. So don't make this mistake. LG, right? Yes. So this is the final information that we were looking for, right? Now, I also said that I want the date feature in each of these, and the date feature was itself present in my orders table itself, right? So, can you tell me what I should include in my select statement? Basically, what are the changes that I'll have to make to this query in order to get my date column as well for each of the zones? Okay. Okay, so I can add and okay. Okay, let's try doing that. So what I'll do is after joining, I'll give a where condition. I'll say where. Now I do where dot. Now tell me what should I write in this in the where statement. So yeah, this can be one way of doing it. As you said, we can use the and statement, right? So we can do it like something like this, and then I'll say and. Okay. Now understand what exactly I am asking for and what exactly this query will do, right? Let me show you the result of this so that we can better understand what is wrong with it. First of all, do you think that this will even make any sense, the query that I've written? So yeah, basically in the query that I've written, let me point you one thing. What you're telling is you're saying that the order date time should be 26 June 2019 and it should also be 27 June 2019, right? So this basically makes no sense. There'll be no entry whatsoever in which we can satisfy this condition, right? Let me just check it once. Yeah, so it's throwing some kind of error. Um, Let me check the column name that we were talking about. Order date time. Okay. Fine. So now, as you can see that when I say or, it at least makes sense that my orders should be placed either on 26th of June or on 27th of June. That'll somehow make sense. So yeah, I'm getting some kind of data with it. But if I just put and over here, so yeah, I'm not getting any data points, right? So this will be a wrong way of doing it. Again, in either of the cases, even if we use or, our problem is not solved. Our problem was basically I need the sales and the MRP for each of the days on each of the zones, and I need that date as my column, right? So my where condition is not going to help me. It's just some kind of filtering that I'm doing on my data, right? So does anyone have any suggestions on how exactly I should do it without using the where and condition? Okay, I'll just complete the statement. So what I'll do here is I'll just select it first of all in the columns that I'm selecting, right? So I'll just select it as this is the column that I've selected, right? Okay. So yes, let me just explain you one more thing. So before, when I just selected the columns, I was not providing all the dates that are happening in each of the zones. I was not giving separate sales for each of the days in each of the zones, right? Because when I was grouping my aggregated data, I was only grouping it for zones, right? That's why I couldn't see separate dates for each of the zones. Now, when I have grouped on both date as well as zone, now I can see information for each of the dates on each of the zones that are present in my data set. So this is the final information that I want to give. And of course, I'll just give the aliases as well. Right? Like I'll just name it as MRP and I'll name it as units. This as function is something basically you can just use to, in a way, rename your columns so that you have a presentable form of table, right? So yeah, this is about joins. More or less, this is these are what the basics consist of, and using this you can build a very complicated queries. So let me tell you, this was a very basic session. It did not contain anything complicated. There are a lot of other stuff that you will need to do on a day-to-day basis. Maybe something like you'll have to report the cumulative sales that you get on day basis. Now, you can just give it a thought, like how exactly you will do it, how exactly using the same basics that we have covered in today's course, you'll be able to figure out. Basically, what I need is I just need a date column which will consist of all the dates from 21st to 28th of June, right? Sorted. And I want a cumulative sales that are occurring on each of the days, right? So now, can you write an efficient query for the same? Will you be able to do it using the same kind of knowledge? So these are all the things that I think you should give a thought on. You should spend some more time understanding the very concepts that we covered in the course. And detailed questions like the one I mentioned now, those can be solved using self joins when you use the same data, when you join the same data frame to itself in order to get information in the form that you wanted it to. So these are the kind of questions. There are other questions that I'll just mention. You can give it a thought, and we'll probably be covering it in the following sessions. They're a bit complicated one, that's why I did not include it in today's session. So you can think about the cumulative sales. You can think about how you will get the maximum drop in sales between two consecutive days. Then how you will calculate the day-wise percentage of cancelled, returned, and delivered orders out of the total orders that are being delivered, right? How you will identify the customers that are doing more than, say, 2 or 3 transactions per week. So these are the kinds of questions that you will seek answers for when you are working as as a business analyst. So I want you guys to give these questions a little bit of thought. And I assure you, nothing else or nothing more than what we covered in today's course will be needed to answer these questions. And at the same time, these were a very simple, basic queries that we wrote today. When you jump into writing really big queries, when you jump into writing sub queries and multiple joins, there are a lot of inefficient ways against efficient practices that you do in SQL. So it's necessary to write an efficient query, because that way you can save a lot of your own time, and your manager won't be like sitting on your head and saying that, okay, you haven't done your job in, say, 1 week or 2 weeks. So writing efficient queries is equally very important. Uh, yeah, so I hope that this session added some kind of value to your knowledge and it helped you in some way. And at least if you are a total newbie to SQL, I hope that this session gave you the basic foundation for it. And that's about it from my side. If you have any queries or anything related to your ACAS, if you need anything, please reach out to Colon. And yeah, thanks all. Thank you for patiently listening to me.